All right. Hello, citizens of the Nigerverse. It's Niger once again. So, right off the bat, let's address the elephant in the room, whom you can see my eyes as they look, at least to me, they look a little red and a little half closed. No, I wasn't hanging out with RVD or anything like that. It's pretty late. I'm kind of tired, but we're gonna push through anyway because it's time to continue our look at the invasion storyline. It's time for the second episode of the invasion. So if you missed the first episode, here's a brief recap. Pretty much, the invasion technically hasn't started yet. In fact, truth be told, here what we're going to talk about in episode 2 of the invasion here. This is honestly where the invasion really begins, and it's where things really kick off officially in terms of the invasion. In fact, one of the three pay-per-views we're looking at this week to tie in is literally Invasion, and now. Admittedly, this is kind of an anecdote, just in case I forget to bring it up. I was watching King of the Ring earlier from 2001 for the personal review. That review will be out hopefully by Saturday. Uh, I was confused at first because they were advertising the next pay per view as fully loaded, so I got confused. I was like, "Wait, fully loaded? Did I miss a pay per view? Is fully loaded also on the list?" No, that's what Invasion turned out to be. Invasion was technically the last fully loaded. It's just that since it was Invasion, it was just called or since the Invasion storyline had officially kicked off, it was just called Invasion. So, it essentially replaced Fully Loaded. So I was like, oh, okay. Hey, also WWE, bring back Fully Loaded. If you're gonna bring back like Bad Blood and stuff like that, bring back Fully Loaded. But nevertheless, this I guess is where things truly kick off for the invasion. If you remember last time, the seeds were kind of being planted. They were kind of leaving breadcrumbs. We didn't have a full-scale invasion just yet, but some signs were there. Shane McMahon was in charge of WCW. He was the owner of WCW, stealing it right from under Vince's nose. It was he already has recruited a few superstars to his cause, such as Test, Lance Storm has showed up, Mike Awesome has showed up as well. I forgot to mention, and I actually put in the notes to bring it up this episode, because I forgot to mention them for June. But Chuck Palumbo and Sean O'Hare, aka part of the part are the Natural Born Thrillers, or I believe themselves were also called the Natural Born Thrillers. But Chuck Palumbo and Sean O'Hare had debuted. This wasn't quite Devil's Advocate Sean O'Hare just yet, or biker Chuck Palumbo, or even Billy and Chuck Palumbo. This was very much based on their kind of persona and their tag team and everything in WCW, but yeah, they had shown up as well. So we already see some of the big names coming over from WCW, or at least as big as they can get. It's because of the very notable omissions, but we'll get to that when we get to that. And we see the that the wheels are kind of turning in terms of an invasion. And WCW is now an entity because of Shane McMahon and everything. And so, where will we go from here, and who will be joining WCW? We will find out. But first, it's time to check out the ratings and see what's going on at this point in time. So we have our ratings for Raw and SmackDown for July through August. So let's see what's going down here. Admittedly, hey, I'm reviewing this week. I'm reviewing Judgment Day, King of the Ring, and Invasion. So we are just a smidge behind in terms of not in terms of where we are in the timeline in terms of pay-per-views versus excuse me where we are in terms of timeline in the months. But don't worry, we definitely will be caught up eventually. But for the week of July 1st to the 5th, we see that Raw did a 4.65 and SmackDown did a 3.8. July 8th through the 12th, we see that Raw did a 4.7 and SmackDown did a 4. 15th through the 19th, we see that Raw did 5 and SmackDown did 3.9. 22nd through the 26th, we see that Raw did 5.4 and SmackDown did a 4.3. And then ending off July, beginning into August, we see Raw does a 5.7, and then SmackDown does a 4.2, 4.7, I should say. The 5th through the 9th, however, Raw does 5.4, and then SmackDown does a 4.2. The 12th through the 16th, Raw does a 5.2, and SmackDown does a 4.3. August 19th through the 23rd, we see Raw does a 5.15, and SmackDown does a 4.3. And then to end off August, the 26th through the 30th, we see that Raw does a 4.8 and SmackDown does a 3.9. So, numbers are, for the most part, kind of up a little bit. At least more so on the Raw side. The SmackDown side, compared to last time, looks like they're staying about the same. But Raw, you can see the numbers are kind of up. Remember, if you remember from the ratings from last time, also worth apologizing for this episode coming out so late in the week. It was supposed to come out much earlier in the week. We should hopefully be back on track next week when it comes to the Invasion episodes. I want to try to get them out on Mondays, but we were a little late this week. But as you can see, Raw is now cracking above 5. But remember, they weren't even doing that last time. So, things for the most part are up. It looks like, compared to where we were for May and June of 2001. That is. Okay, so now that the ratings are out of the way, let's see what's going down here. So first of all, this is when we're officially, and I can get rid of this. Now that we're full swing into the actual invasion, now that WCW has invaded, Raw quickly becomes kind of the WCW show, or where the alliance hangs out, and more on the actual alliance later on and what that means. But for now, Raw more so kind of belongs to WCW. SmackDown is more so where Team WF goes. So so you can tell. They're kind of testing the waters for the brand splits, but they're not full, but they wouldn't obviously fully commit to the brand splits until the next year. But for now, kind of testing it out, and apparently they thought about doing a brand extension for WCW, who in fact looking up here. Yeah, here we go. I'll make sure I have the actual. Make sure I have the actual article in front of me so I can reference it. But they're kind of testing the waters for a brand extension for WCW, including on the July 2nd episode of Raw, where the last 20 minutes were dedicated to WCW, and they went apparently. And they went all out with it. Paul Heyman and Jim Ross were replaced with Scott Hudson and Arn Anderson. No Mike Tenay, no Tony Schiavone. Nothing like that. Okay. Yeah, I think by this point those two had moved on though. But in fact, I think because TNA wasn't until 2002. I might be getting the timeline mixed up. My tired brain might be getting the timeline mixed up, but nevertheless, so they swapped them out. Oh, and they had the main event of Raw be Buff Bagwell versus Booker T for the World Championship. And afterwards, the WF kind of jumped the WCW guys, more specifically Booker T, for or attacking Austin back at King of the Ring, which we'll get to when we review that. But yeah, so they gave them that spot there to kind of test that out, and test failed because Buff Bagwell versus Booker T is considered to be one of the worst matches ever, one of the worst main events ever, or unfortunately. It's been it's been speculated, it's been debated whether or not whether or not this match was doomed for failure. Buff Bagwell believes that it was, especially because as they were in Tacoma, Washington, which is known for being very pro WWF and very anti WCW, who and apparently, a lot of people hated the match a lot, and the audience definitely ripped the match apart, saying it was boring, it was bad, and everything. And and so it's speculated that the match was set up to fail, uh, especially with it taking place in Washington and not, say, Atlanta, where Buff Bagwell talked about it. I'm seeing this in the wiki article here. Or talked about it with Stone Cold in 2015. He talked about why were we in Tacoma, Washington, which is very pro WF, when we could have been in Atlanta, uh, which would be more pro WCW. Who also having that bad of a match, I think also didn't help matters. Do I think it was set to fail? That's a possibility. But for them to go all out with swapping out the announcers and giving it like the WCW banner, I imagine they probably wanted some level of success out of it. That's kind of just my theory. Would I put it past WWE, WF slash Vince McMahon to intentionally make WCW look bad at in this segment? Not really. I definitely wouldn't put it past them. Wouldn't be the last time. Also, as the rest of the Invasion storyline will turn out to be, but we'll get there when we get there. But yeah, so unfortunately, that was a flop. But also in the midst of this, WCW turns heel. So the WCW side of things, which are kind of more so face because Mr. McMahon was the heel, he was aligning himself with Steve Austin and Triple H, which unfortunately at this point Triple H has torn his quad. So Triple H ends up missing the whole Gull Dang Invasion storyline, he tore the match. He tore the match. He tore his quad during the tag team title match between himself and Austin, aka the two-man power trip, against when they defended the tag titles against Chris Benoit and Chris Jericho. That was a match where Triple H tore his quad, so Triple H would be out pretty much for the rest of 2001. Wouldn't return until the Madison Square Garden in 20. My goodness, I cannot speak tonight. Wouldn't return until WWF was in Madison Square Garden in 2002, where he had the big return with the big ovation, very iconic, very legendary moment, especially for Triple H's career. But yeah, so Triple H was out for the rest of 2001 on and so a major player for WF would be out for the entire invasion. And a major player being out for the invasion, get used to hearing that phrase because it's going to come up a lot. But yeah, so Triple H was out. But yeah, so Vince was aligned with them. But during the course of the storyline, especially because the fans had kind of started to turn on the WF not WF, the WCW side. WCW were now how being kind of positioned as heels, like invading the WWF and trying to take the WWF by force and everything, and which fair enough, I guess. And again, and again, and pretty much shows what Vince really thought of WCW. But 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 yeah, so now they are heels. But they're not the only ones, because now ECW also enters the fray. At first it was just WCW, but then on the uh on the July 9th episode, and I'll actually read this section so you can kind of get a grasp of what's going on. Or actually, it's kind of a long segment, and but pretty much it was a handicap between Kane, Mike Awesome, and Lance Storm. Or I'm kind of bold for Mike Awesome to be on the WCW side, considering how WCW kind of treated him, at least in terms of at least in terms of character and everything. Lest we forget, they made him the fat chick thriller and that 70s guy. Nothing against the larger ladies. You are all beautiful, but it very much was not befitting uh, the career killer, the ultimate badass, the gladiator that was Mike Awesome. But anyway, during the match, Jericho did make it a straight up tag match, but RBD, Tommy Dreamer showed up, um, and then eventually the Dudley Boys, Taz, Justin Credible, Rhino, and Raven would all turn on WF and defect towards the ECW side, as well as Paul Heyman, which it makes sense for those guys in specific, that being Raven, Justin Credible, Taz, the Dudley Boys, both Taz and Justin Credible, and Raven and Rhino. All being former ECW champions, and makes sense for them to go to the ECW side. But yeah, ECW, who is now a part of the Invaders, and it seemed at first that WF and WCW are going to unite against ECW, but swerve. WCW joins up with ECW to officially form the alliance, and Stephanie McMahon becomes the owner of ECW. So you have Shane McMahon in charge of WCW, and you have Stephanie McMahon in charge of ECW. Let me repeat myself one more time. Shane McMahon is in charge of WCW. Stephanie McMahon is in charge of ECW. Are you starting to notice a pattern here? But yeah, so the McMahon kids are rebelling against their dad and are leading the charge of the alliance to pretty much take out the WWF, and we will see where things lead from there. So, now both McMahons are in on it, and now we got full scale invaders, and so now WWF is essentially fighting a civil war of sort, or it's within their own company with these invaders. I don't know if you necessarily consider a civil war, but nevertheless, uh, but Vince McMahon and needs someone to lead the charge against WCW and ECW, aka the Alliance, and now that they're joined up, I can just call them the Alliance and it not feel weird because we hadn't gotten there yet. Now I can finally comfortably call them the Alliance. But now Vince McMahon needs someone to lead the Alliance. He can't have Triple H doing it because Triple H is out. Although I do wonder, if Triple H hadn't gotten injured, what side would he have been on? Like, would he have joined the ECW side, or more so the Alliance side? If Triple H had joined, it'd make about as much sense as some of the other defectors, but Vince needs someone to lead the charge. He needs Stone Cold Steve Austin, but not this Stone Cold Steve Austin. No, he doesn't need the Stone Cold Steve Austin who's been whiny, paranoid, and trying to hug and kiss up to Vince and trying to be buddy buddy with him. No, Vince needs the old Stone Cold, the one who kicked ass, took and took no BS from anybody, the one who made Vince McMahon's life a living hell, the one who was the tough SOB, DTA, don't trust anyone. He needs that Steve Austin, and and eventually Steve Austin at first does not want to embrace that. He leaves for a little bit, but eventually, as WF mounts the offensive against the Alliance, so all of a sudden it does, and because Steve Austin at this point, they're showing segments of him like in a bar and everything, it ignites the old Stone Cold, and Stone Cold eventually comes back. The old Stone Cold is back. So now that the old Stone Cold is back, and and now that Stone Cold is the SOB badass again, and now I guess it makes sense hence for it to be the perfect time for him to turn on Team WF and join the Alliance himself. Yep. So at the Invasion pay-per-view, Austin betrays the WF and joins up with the Alliance. Stone Cold Steve Austin and joins up with the Alliance, which, let me remind you, consists of Team WCW and ECW. Stone Cold Steve Austin is a part of that. Stone Cold Steve Austin, the guy who famously, a big part of his story is being let go from WCW for not being marketable enough. And for being kind of boring and everything, which Austin himself even kind of admits it's the case. But hey, don't let kayfabe get in the way of, or don't let a good story get, or I forget exactly how the catchphrase goes. Don't let the truth stop kayfabe or something like that. I forget exactly how the quote goes. I imagine if I was a lot more awake and or alert, I'd probably remember but yeah, so Steve Austin, the guy who was famously, sorry, Mr. Mike, the guy who was famously let go, told, hey, you can't cut the mustard, you're out of here from WCW. The guy who didn't last that long in ECW, although we who see kind of the seeds of the Stone Cold character in ECW. He ends up ultimately spending a cup of coffee there, but it's a very important cup of coffee, and I'm sure a very strong cup of coffee. But that guy who goes through WCW, goes through ECW, the guy who really finds his success in the WWF, being part of the WWF, cutting the Austin 316 promo, becoming the top star in the Attitude Era, helping usher in the Attitude Era. That guy betrays the WWF and joins up with Team WCW, aka or the Alliance, which also consists of WCW, who are the ones who put him on his ass in the first place. Makes sense to me. Does it not make sense? It makes perfect sense to me. But yeah, so Austin is now part of Team WF, or not part of Team WF. He's a part of the Alliance. But you know who does come back and ultimately joins Team WF? The Rock. So The Rock, who was suspended in kayfabe, which is pretty much just code for him filming the Scorpion King. He comes back. He ultimately joins up with Team WF. He makes it seem like he's going to join Team WCW at first, but instead he winds up joining Team WF. Although at this point, Austin's already in the alliance, might as well make sense for The Rock to join as well. But ultimately, The Rock sticks true to the WWF, and so The Rock is now back in the equation, and we'll see how that pans out. Kurt Angle wins the WCW World Championship from Booker T. He wins it at I believe. Let me see exactly when Kurt Angle won the World Championship. Uh, uh, it was on the July 26th episode of SmackDown. Okay. Hey, so, oh, it's the same episode where Shane McMahon extended the invitation to The Rock to potentially join the alliance, but ultimately, of course, he doesn't. And Angle wins the world championship from Booker T. He and then Booker T wins it back just in time to lose it to The Rock at SummerSlam. And yeah, yay, hey Alliance, yay WCW. But there's that, and then finally this one, I get. I guess important to some extent, but not quite as much as the other ones. Rhino does spear Chris Jericho through the SmackDown set uh, uh, on the August 9th episode. Hold, uh, hold, uh, Rhino spears Jericho through the set and they had to replace it, and they replaced it with the iconic SmackDown Fist set design. So, that's a cool historical footnote. I've always been a very big fan of that set, as are a lot of people. But yeah, so that's where things are in terms of the invasion. So the alliance is officially formed, and they're already kind of messing up. Austin is now the leader of the alliance, and for whatever reason, The Rock is back in the fold. At this point, Team WF has the WCW World Championship, so that's a big blow to the alliance, and we'll see how things progress from here. And of course, the next episode will be September and October, and of course, we'll review the pay-per-views around that time as well. But in the meantime, that is going to do it for this review, or not this review. That is going to do it for you. You can tell it's time for bed, but that's going to do it for this episode of The Invasion. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor. Like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, turn on those post notifications so you know every time I upload videos so you never miss an upload, and let me know in the comment section below your thoughts on The Invasion and my coverage of it so far. Are you enjoying it? Is there anything I missed? If there's anything crucial that I miss at all in terms of the story and where we are, or something that I should bring up, or something you want me to draw more attention to, please feel free to let me know in the comment section below. Your feedback will really help out, and also let me know what you guys want to see in the future if I decide to do another one of these. I did the Monday Night Wars last year. I'm doing the Invasion this year. Or if there's any more of these types of coverage that you guys want to see from me, please feel free to let me know in the comments. But in the meantime, thank you all so much for watching. I will see you guys later. Peace.